also want to thank all the assistant governors for being here. You will probably not hear much new material, but it will give you a good idea of what I'm presenting to the Presidents-elect, and therefore gives you a chance to work with them once we have done the club assignments going forward this spring. And of course, I'm very grateful to our district governor, Terry Kern, for being here and supporting me, as well as Laurie Karras, our DGN, and Tom Hankert, our DGND. So you have the whole district governor track here. And that is really something that warms my heart. So without further ado, let me jump right into the presentation here. What we are going to talk about today is 2 sessions. The first one is called Being President. The second one is going to be on membership. And we are going to hopefully cover these materials, as I said, in about an hour, a little bit more than that maybe. And then there will hopefully be time for questions also after each of the 2 segments. If you have any questions, you can throw them into chat during the presentation. And if I see them, I will try to answer them right away, or we can wait until the end and you can just raise your hand and I'll ask you to speak at that point in time. So this is what we want to cover in our first session today. Our objectives are talking about what it means to be president of your club, what goals do you need to set for your year, and where do you enter them in Rotary Club Central, specifically membership goals, service goals, foundation and youth goals, how to go about building your leadership team for the coming year, how to plan your club's calendar, some tips for planning a good meeting, some tips on fundraising, and then we'll also talk about service projects. And for those of you who are repeat presidents and doing it again, either a second time in a row, or you have maybe been president before and have been tapped again, I hope that we'll have a few nuggets in here for you that are new as well. And if not, then please think about this is an opportunity of potentially being a mentor for a new club president nearby. Rotary is best consumed as a fellowship organization, and so if you can share your insights with others, that's always a great way to get connected. So your job as club president obviously is to lead your club and to engage and inspire members and to promote Rotary in your community. There's a detailed document available from RI called Lead Your Club, President. And I will share a link to that document after this session in my follow-up email. And you will also find links to various other great documents directly in the PowerPoint slideshow that you can then utilize once I send you the slides after this session today. So before you become president, you are president-elect. And during your year as president-elect, you have a couple of things that you can and should already do. So ideally, you should be part of the board and serve as a director of your club. You should consult the president on decisions that affect the club, especially those that are multi-year decisions in nature. You need to start building your roster for your own year. You need to start thinking about appointing committee chairs and a trainer for your year. You need to work with your treasurer or finance committee chair, if you have one, to supervise the preparation of the budget for your year. You need to encourage the incoming club officers, especially the treasurer and secretary, to attend the district assembly, which is going to be April 30 this year. No, 27, right? I should have been counted on the side. Let me look it up. It's April 27, yes. April 30 is RLI, Rotary Leadership Institute. That's also something I can highly recommend. Then obviously, we want you all to attend the President-elect training seminars, Northeast Pets, which is going to be March 4 and 5 this year. And I thank those of you who have already registered very much. And everybody else, you've received an email from me 2 or 3 hours ago to remind you to register for any pets, please. We want to make sure that you all have an account on the Rotary.org website, also called My Rotary, which will be necessary for you to access important reports, your club's dues invoice, and various other things. And it's also the means for which you use to log into Rotary Club Central, where you can enter your club goals, and we'll talk about those today as well. So as president, what you do is you preside over your club and board meetings. You appoint the committee chairs and members to those committees. You conduct club assemblies. You create the budget and manage your club's finances, including an annual financial review or audit. You are in charge of developing a safe environment for youth participants in programs such as Interact or RILA or Rotary Youth Exchange. And you will work with me as your district governor and all the assistant governors in making sure that we have a good communication rapport between the district and your Rotary Club. And this again is the link to the full job description in the Rotary Learning Center. So to prepare your year as president, you can definitely come to your assistant governor and to the incoming leadership team to help you set the annual goals for your club that support the strategic plan. So what you can do is you can assess your club's strengths and weaknesses and opportunities, which we call SWOT analysis, and utilize that analysis to come up with the goals that will be the basis for your action plan. And together with supporting long-term achievements, this allows your club to become stronger, to become more vibrant, and to grow and have better impact in your community. Ideally, you want to make sure that when you appoint the committee chairs, you ensure some continuity in leadership and in the service projects that your clubs do. And of course, we already talked about attending the Northeast Pets. And in addition to that, I can highly recommend the Rotary Learning Center. It's a complete e-learning site where you can take online courses at your own pace and at your convenience. And they are a really great addition to what we'll cover here today in these pre-pet slides, as well as what you will hear during Northeast Pets on March 4th and 5th. When you get the PowerPoint, here are some really interesting links for resources and references in terms of documents that you can download from the Rotary International website. There is the Lead Your Club as President Club Manual that I mentioned before already. There is a great document called Be a Vibrant Club that really helps you plan for club growth and for making your club more attractive to new members. There's a foundation reference guide, there's a membership growth and retention support document, and then there's a variety of standard documents that you can utilize if you want to revise your bylaws or need to look up your club constitution. In terms of tools at your disposal, many of these are on the Rotary.org website. So you would use your My Rotary login to get to these. There is the ability to pay or view your club invoice. Again, that's a link that goes to that particular page on My Rotary. There's the ability for you to update your club membership data, though most of us do that via the Club Runner website, where we maintain our membership database. You can add club officers, and you can set and track the goals at Rotary Club Central. There's also a whole host of webinars that you can attend and discussion groups on the Rotary website. And obviously there's plenty of support within our organization. I'm sure your past president will be a resource for you and support you in your year as president, as well as your assistant governor. And of course, I will be available at your disposal as well. We see that Tim Kelly has started to annotate the screen for us. I'm going to clear those annotations. Thank you. And let's not do that anymore, if we can. So As president, there's a continued set of obligations here. So you will be ideally working with each committee in your club to set goals for those committees and to encourage communication between your club and district committees. For example, if you have a public image committee in your club, encourage them to check in with the district public image committee on the wonderful resources that we can provide. And the same goes with the membership committee and other committees, of course. You will be reviewing all the club's activities and goals, the expenditures, and obviously participate in the decisions that lead to them. You will be supervising the budget and the proper accounting practices, as we mentioned. And very important is that you ensure that your secretary and treasurer both have an account in Club Runner and on My Rotary so that they can update the membership and other club data regularly and know how to use these websites, which is why we invite them to be part of the district assembly in April, where they will learn some of those skills. In terms of collaborating with the governor and assistant governors, as I already mentioned before, we are there for you as resources for any questions you may have, and we'll be happy to support you in any needs that your club encounters. You will also get a monthly email from me, in addition to the one that I'm going to send out to the entire district membership. I will be sending an email just to you as president that will have important information on what's happening in the district schedule and what's coming up that might be relevant for your club to do. And as you know, the district governor has the wonderful opportunity of being allowed to visit every single club in the district at least once a year. And so when that district governor visit comes up, you would prepare your club for that occasion. Ideally, what we would ask you to do is please not schedule another speaker on the same day, so that I get about 20 minutes or so to address your club when I come on my visit. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, in terms of youth programs, you will be tasked with following the youth protection policies and the statement of conduct for working with youth and all the other requirements for the youth programs. Next up is, of course, the board meetings. Every Rotary Club has a board of directors, and that should be meeting monthly in a typical environment. So you would be planning and leading those monthly board meetings. And in doing so, you would typically send out the agenda for that board meeting a few days in advance and keep the meeting working smoothly based on that agenda. And the same is true for club meetings. Planning and leading interesting and relevant club meetings is a big role for you as president, as well as organizing fun social events. And maybe for the social events, you want to have a social committee in your club that can take some of that workload off your plate. That's always a good way of dividing the work so that it doesn't become overwhelming. When it comes to carrying out your club goals, involve the members of your club as much as you can, be those service project goals or membership goals, and then track those goals in Rotary Club Central. And whenever we have larger district events, such as the Foundation Dinner in the fall or the World Peace and Understanding event, please encourage your club members to attend those district events. It will give them a perspective of Rotary that's outside the horizon of just your club, and may encourage them to do more on different levels in our wonderful organization, be it action groups or fellowships or even going to the Rotary Convention. Talking of which, the Rotary Convention this spring is going to be in June. It's June 4th through June 8th in Houston, Texas. So if you are interested in seeing how a Rotary International Convention looks like. This is going to be one of the most affordable opportunities in a long time, because the flights from Boston to Texas are fairly cheap. Next year it's going to be in Melbourne, Australia, so that's going to be a little more expensive to go there. And at the moment we have the entire district governor track planning to attend. In total, I think we have at least 13 people already signed up from our district. So please think about it. It's a great way to truly experience the international nature of Rotary, because you will have a chance to meet Rotarians from all over the world when you come to the RI convention. More information on that is available on our district website right now. So if you go to rotary7930.org, I think it's the top 1 or 2 stories that talk about the RI convention. And there's also a promotional rate to sign up. And if you sign up before the end of this month, it's a lot cheaper than if you sign up later on. So that was the RI convention. Also, the district conference is an important event we ask you to attend. That typically happens in May every year. And then, of course, at some point in time, when your year is up, it would be wonderful to summarize it in an annual report to your club before you leave office, and then hand the baton to your successor. Obviously, that successor will be President-elect about a year from now. So at that point in time, it's your job as president to support them, just like your current president is hopefully supporting you right now. So what does it really mean to be presidential? What you want to try to achieve is to really build a culture of collaboration with your board. You don't want to lead like a dictator, but rather you want to lead by example and by motivating everybody, by setting a positive tone and creating a welcoming culture, and ideally by being efficient and productive. People really appreciate it when you take them seriously and take their time as valuable. And so being on time and being efficient and productive in how you conduct your meetings is something that they will greatly value. If you have a chance to regularly evaluate your club's progress towards its goals, that will help you keep track of things throughout your year, right? You're setting your goals at the beginning of the year, and then it doesn't make much sense to wait until the end of your year in June and then look at how did I achieve my goals or not. It makes much more sense if you look at the goals once a month, maybe once every 2 months, and say like, interesting, okay, I've already gotten 3 new members, so that's great, but I have not really done anything to achieve my annual foundation fund giving goals. So that's what I'm going to tackle next month. Keep an eye on them throughout the year and evaluate your progress, and then you'll be doing just fine in achieving your goals. And of course, inspiring club members to participate in club activities is one of the best leadership characteristics that a good president has. And last but not least, say thank you and celebrate accomplishments. Rotary Club members want to be feeling valued, and the best way to do that is to celebrate with them and thank them when they contribute. Now let's talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will have a longer session on that topic during Northeast Pets on March 5th. But essentially, when we talk about DEI, what we mean is that everybody is welcome in Rotary. And that means all ages, races, abilities, ethnicities, immigration statuses, whether or not anybody has a handicap. We should be welcoming to all people. And I'm not going to read the whole list. I think you get the message quite nicely. And in welcoming everybody to your organization, you also create a more equitable and inclusive environment for everybody as a result of that. And we'll talk a little bit more about DEI in the second half of our session today when we talk about membership. So when you are a good leader, what you're doing is you're setting the direction for your organization, you're identifying the tasks to achieve the goals, You delegate responsibility so that not everything ends up on your plate. You establish accountability and follow up with the tasks that you have delegated. And you give credit where credit is due, but also remember to have fun. Your year as president should not be all work. It should also be an activity that gives you great pleasure. I know that when I look back at being president of the Marblehead Rotary Club, I had a blast. It was one of the best years in my Rotary career so far, and I hope that it will be a similar experience for you. Terry, I saw your hand raised. Did you want to add something?
No, I was scratching my head. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye and I didn't want to ignore you. Very good. So, as I said before, it's really important to be efficient and productive. And so planning for a great club meeting is also an essential part of being presidential. It's not just board meetings or committee meetings, it's your club meetings as well. So you should always have an agenda, and ideally you have a standard agenda time frame for every single club meeting that doesn't vary too much from meeting to meeting, that has some clearly defined times of when you start the meeting, when lunch or dinner is served or finished. That includes all the topics and the time required for each topic, if you do happy dollars or if you have committee updates from your club meetings, and if you have a speaker or not. And for those cases where you have a speaker planned for a meeting, I highly recommend having some kind of backup agenda for a speaker no-show situation, so that you don't just stand there and go like, well, I don't know what to do. It's much better to immediately jump to a secondary agenda, and that could be that you ask one of the committee chairs to just give a much longer update about their work on a fundraiser or their work on an upcoming project. Or it could be that you ask one of your Rotarians to talk a little bit about their own business, right? I mean, we have these classification talks that we have traditionally asked new members to give once when they join. People love to talk about themselves, so just pick on any member of your club and say, hey, tell me about your last week at the funeral parlor. What were the most exciting dead bodies that you prepared? As I said, keep it fresh, keep it ideal. Maybe you have somebody who has a car repair shop and you ask them about the number of times that another Rotarian has had to bring in their car for the last year because they have a student driver. Just be ready to think on the spot and come up with fun ways to I don't want to say kill the time, but to bridge the gap if you don't have a speaker showing up. And most importantly, as I said, start and end on time. People really like it when it's predictable. Everybody is a busy professional. Everybody has to go somewhere after the Rotary Club meeting, and you don't want to run over time, even if you have a great speaker. So before you can have such a great club meeting, confirm with the speaker whether or not they're going to be there. Get their biography so can do a quick intro. Any audio video needs they may have. Make sure you confirm the timing with them, that they only have 20 minutes or 25 or whatever your agenda says, and whether or not they have any handouts that they want to give out in case of an in-person meeting. One thing that I can recommend if you have somebody in your club who wants to do that is appoint somebody as a speaker chair who can take that part of planning the meetings off your plate. It's one task that as a president you can easily delegate. And we have done that for many years in the Marblehead Rotary Club and had great success with having a speaker chair who's in charge of that particular portion of the meeting. Send a meeting reminder out to your club members. We know that everybody should know that the meeting is on the same day at the same time, but sometimes things change, especially nowadays where we're switching meeting locations. Sometimes we're virtual, sometimes we're in person. So make it a predictive pattern that every Monday morning you send out an email to your entire club membership that tells them this is when the meeting is, this is the speaker, these are the other topics. Seek your members' input for projects, updates, club businesses, and confirm their time requirements. And ideally, when you have new members joining your club, plan for some kind of new member installation during one of your next meetings. You can either group them together when you have 2 or 3 members joining at the same time, or you can do them one after the other. And then, of course, as you come to the club meeting, try to be there early. It's always great when the president is there before everybody else, rather than waltzing at the last minute. This gives you a chance to check the room layout, make sure that the audio video is set up correctly. And in case of a virtual or hybrid meeting, make sure that you have the Zoom meeting ready about 10 minutes before, so that people don't have to spend too long in the waiting room. And then, of course, greet the speaker, greet the other members, and make sure that you have your face visible and be present at the entrance to your facility. Okay, so what should your club expect from you and from your year as president? Ideally, try to do better than the status quo. See if you can increase membership a little bit. Doesn't need to be doubling your club in size. That would be lovely, because Sheikh Mehta, our current president, has charged us all to each one bring one. And so if you have 30 members in your club, you will be a 60-member club at the end of this year. That's maybe a little bit of an aggressive goal, but aim for something like 5%. Or if you are a smaller club and that will only be 3/4 of a member, aim for 1 or 2 new members. And we're talking about net gain. So keep in mind that naturally we lose members in Rotary every year, be it sadly through them passing away, or just because they move, or they have other time commitments. Assume that you're going to lose a few members, and so plan your net gain in such a way that you recruit more members than you lose. Keep the Rotary Foundation in your mind as you plan your year, and make it a priority to educate your members about the great projects that the Rotary Foundation can do, and also help fundraising for the Rotary Foundation. And ideally, that could be a dual thing in nature. You could be planning a district managed grant for your year, where you actually receive money from the district that we can give you because of prior year's donations to the Rotary Foundation, and also encourage your club members to keep giving to both and polio fund for polio eradication, as well as the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation. And then when it comes to service projects, think about what are the service projects that your club has done in the past, and can you maybe do one more, or can you do them differently, or can you improve on them? And of course, in terms of sustainability, we really want to make sure that everything that you do, or new initiatives that you start in your year, you have a plan for them to continue into future years. There is really no point in doing a one-time event in your year as president if your successors, or the club in general, or the board does not support the idea that that could be an ongoing concern for your club for the foreseeable future. Did I mention having fun? Right? So when you do projects in Rotary, make them fun, right? We have these lobster claw headbands here at the Marblehead Rotary Club when we do our lobster raffle every July, around the 4th of July. So don't take yourself too seriously. It's important as a leader that you can laugh a little bit about yourself, and that will make everybody else feel more comfortable too. So in terms of goals for your year, as I mentioned, how many members do you want to add net of losses? In terms of public relations, what materials do you want to develop that you're not currently using to tell your community about your club? And that includes social media, of course, just as well as it includes talking to your local TV station, or to your town newspaper, if you still have one. In terms of service projects, which service projects do you want to do next year? Do you want to do something different or new? For example, is there a new need in your community that you want to address? What can you do with the youth programs, right? How many students do you want to send to RILA? Do you want to start an Interact Club, or maybe reconnect with an Interact Club that you know has existed at the high school, but you haven't had a chance to talk to them yet in the last 2 years due to the pandemic? Do you want to host an exchange student? We have a district youth exchange committee that can help you with that. And then, of course, what levels of foundation giving do you want to achieve in your year? And setting these goals fosters continuity in leadership. It enables the clubs to track their progress against the goals, not just within your year, but from year to year to year. If those clubs' goals are entered correctly into Rotary Club Central, then your successor can also look at them and see if they can improve on individual goals and just provide us a strong path forward. It creates transparency when you have goals and measure your progress against goals. And it also allows you to showcase important work of Rotary clubs, both in your community as well as in the district and worldwide. So I mentioned several times already the login to My Rotary that you need to get to the Rotary.org website. So if you do not have one of those logins yet, please send me an email after the session today, and I'll help you walk through the process. If you do have one but don't know the password, there's a forgot password button that you can use right there on the Rotary.org website when you click on login. And if you know how to log in, then this allows you to check on foundation giving, to set and monitor the club goals. And for your public image efforts, it's really wonderful that you can go to the Rotary Brand Center and download all the logos and materials from there that you may need to use for your website, or if you want to design a T-shirt for a fundraiser or anything else. And I mentioned the training info at the Learning Center. So it's a really fabulous resource that you should utilize as much as you can. Rotary Club Central is the place where you enter the club goals. It centralizes all the information. There's no more paper forms that you have to fill out or send in. And it really, as I said before, gives you the chance to track the progress, and this results in a much better continuity in leadership. We will have just a few slides here where I'll show you briefly what the goal setting looks like in Rotary Club Central. But if this looks brand new to you and you have never seen it before, don't worry. We will have a separate interactive session where we specifically walk you through how to set the goals during the district breakout session at Northeast Pets. And that will be on March 4th in the afternoon at about 1 p.m. So this is what the dashboard in Rotary Club Central looks like. I've used a slide from the Margaret Rotary Club here because I have those numbers. So you can see your membership trends. Hopefully they're going upwards for all of your clubs as well. It gives you a breakdown on gender trends, and that's this dashboard view. And once you log in and have looked at the dashboard, and you can scroll down, there's more interesting graphs there. You can click here on Goal Center in the top left corner, and that will get you to the Goal Center. And by default, it will be on the current year. So this is, I took the screenshot obviously a little while ago. So it's important for you to choose the correct year by clicking on this right arrow button, and that gets you to the year 22-23. And then these goals are grouped on the Club Central side in different categories: members engagement, Rotary Foundation, service, etc. It's much easier if you simply click on all, because then you get the list of all the available goals. And this ties into something called the Rotary Presidential Citation. You can get a nice little flag at the end of your year for your Rotary Club, where the Rotary International President will give you a nice virtual pat on the back and say, you did good, you achieved your goals. And achieving this presidential citation is done through Rotary Club Central. So there's about, I believe, 25 goals every year. I don't know, haven't looked at the exact number yet for this coming year, but what you need to do is you need to pick more than half of them. So that would be, with 25 goals, 13. So you need to click on the green check mark to 13 of these goals that you want to achieve in your year. Then you need to enter goal value. And then throughout the course of the year, you can track your achievement by entering those numbers. In some cases, it's fully automatic. For example, foundation donations. The achievement gets tracked automatically by the Rotary Foundation, showing you exactly how much you've achieved of your goal. Similar with club membership. Those numbers get tracked automatically. Other categories, you have to enter the achievement yourself. And the absolutely coolest thing about Rotary Club Central is you can change everything all year long. So when you come into your January, February of your presidential year and you review your goals and you go like, I haven't really done anything in terms of progress toward this goal, and the club is hesitant to do it, just uncheck the goal and pick a different one. You have 25 to choose from. All you need to do is half of them. So this is a dynamic document that can help guide you through the entire experience of your year. And hopefully you will utilize it well. And then if you do it right at the end of the year, you get a beautiful flag with your citation from the club, from the RI president. Okay, let's talk about Rotary fundraising. Obviously, in order to do good in the world, we need to actually fund projects by collecting monies. And ideally, the goal for you as president should be to go after other people's money. If you constantly always ask your own club members to donate, they may get fatigued, they may get tired. Some of them may want to do it, and that's great, but try to think about fundraising as a way to get money from the outside world, from friends of Rotary, from business in your community. Do various fundraising events such as charity dinners or walkathons, online auctions. And we have a couple more ideas on the next few slides. You can do projects together with your Intact Club, such as collecting pennies to end polio, or organizing Purple Pinky projects where the kids get their fingernails painted or the whole pinky painted at the high school in order to raise awareness for polio eradication and also collect funds for polio. When you think about fundraising ideas, there is a whole plethora of what could be done and can be done, from golf tournaments to festivals to dinners, lobster bakes, road races, auctions, raffles. Several clubs in our district recently did a Monopoly game that was very successful, where basically each business in your town can buy a square that then shows their logo, and then you have sort of a Monopoly game for the entire place. I think Ipswich did it a while ago, and it was very successful. Parkway is doing it right now, if I'm not mistaken. This, by the way, brings up a very good point, which is that you should think of one another as resources for your year as well. When you get the district directory, which we will be printing in time before the district installation, so you will have it in your hands before the start of your year. Connect with all the other club presidents in your vicinity, and make sure that you exchange ideas about, hey, has this worked for you? Oh, great, what can we do here, right? Duck races, you name it. There's so many different options. And of course, in today's world, we also need to consider virtual fundraisers. Sometimes we have another wave, hopefully not anytime soon. But if you think about realistically what pandemics do when they evolve into endemic viruses, we'll probably have, just like the cold and the flu come back each winter, we'll probably have another wave next winter. It would be my personal guess. So during those times, think about virtual fundraising events. Can just work as well, and could sometimes even be more effective and easier to organize than an in-person. fundraising event. When we talk about service projects, keep in mind that service projects that you do in your community should do substantial good. They should be really recognizable and be worthy of the name Rotary. And especially they need to justify the time and effort of the members that they need to put into to conduct those service projects. And ideally provide personal satisfaction for those members as well. But it's really important to pick them well so that you can maximize the impact you have in your communities, and with that also maximize the good that we will do for your club. And when you're thinking about members, and we'll cover that a lot in the next section, when you think about your members, you don't want perfect attendance from your members. What you want is perfectly engaged members that love, members who love being Rotarians and have fun being Rotarians. And the best way you can do that is with service projects that really energize and engage those members. Those could be ongoing projects. If you've always supported the food pantry in your town, please continue to do that. Those could be project partners, of course, that you can work with. You can do projects with for which you apply for district designated funds by applying for a district managed grant. And you can also work with other clubs if you want to do a service project. For example, Marblehead had recently partnered with the Chelsea Rotary Club to provide a service dog for an autistic child, and that was what is a great experience for both of our clubs. So it's something where you can always think outside the box. And I think that covers the end of my slideshow on being club president. I'm going to stop sharing here real quick and give you all a chance to take a breath. I know I talk fast when I get excited. And I'm ready for any questions you may have about this particular segment before we go into our next slideshow.
Hi, Alexander, it's Kelsey. I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
Could you remind me how you get into that web page where you were putting in the goals? It seemed like there was also something for service projects in there.
Correct.
How do you get there again?
It is in Rotary Club Central. And so the web address is rcc.rotary.org.
Thank you.
I'll just post it into the chat too, so that everybody has it there. And the other way to get there is you can also go to My Rotary and then go to Manage Club and Districts, and there's another link there that goes to Rotary Club Central, but it's easiest to just put that in the bookmark. Any other questions from those of you on video? Hearing none, I think we are going to go into our next presentation and talk about membership, if that's okay with you. Let me pull up that slideshow and start screen sharing. And as you know, membership is a really important topic for Rotary. So what we want to discuss here in the next 20 minutes or so is what attracts people to Rotary, ideas on attracting new members. We'll talk about membership retention, because unfortunately, new members that we attract very often leave after 1 or 2 years again. And we'll talk about what you can do to engage them and get them excited and keep them. We'll talk about getting access to your membership data. And then really when you think about it in the business context, what's your value proposition to a new member to make them stay? We'll talk about membership options and the new member orientation brochures that our district has put together last year. As I promised in the last segment, we'll talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, including things like the unconscious bias and other aspects. And then also we'll talk a little bit about the generational gap and how we can be attractive to both experienced Rotarians as well as potential new younger members. So what attracts people to Rotary? They want to be part of something that is self-governing, especially if it's something that's bigger than they are. They want to be part of something that's meaningful, an organization that is really making a difference in the world. And I think Rotary can do exactly that. And they want to be a part of something that is as good as any and better than most at what it does. And these talk to the facts of people want to see autonomy, they want to see purpose and mastery in that organization. As I mentioned before, we really are an inclusive organization that is welcoming to all people of all backgrounds. And what you need to think about when you think about membership is really coming up with a membership plan that's suitable for your particular club and especially for your particular community in which you operate. So think about things like, what are the age demographics? What's the gender balance? What's the cultural diversity? And how can you, in your membership plan, specifically think about both recruiting new members and retention of members that you've just recruited? And how can you make that something that is defined as so-called SMART objectives? When you have goals that are specific, that are measurable, that are achievable and relevant, and their time frame. So you say, I want to achieve 3 new members in the next 6 months. Then you can actually be smart about how to achieve them and measure their success against those goals. And those are the goals that are achievable and actually doable. Plus, if you have a clearly defined membership plan, your membership committee in your club will understand exactly how to implement it. Here are some quick ideas on attracting new members. Obviously, if you have a speaker who comes to your club, don't be shy, ask them if they want to be interested in becoming a new member. If you have donors like local businesses that have given to you the same fundraiser over the last 3 years, invite them to come to a Rotary Club meeting and not just underwrite your fundraisers. Invite them to become a member. If you are working with other charitable organizations in your community, like the food pantry or any other such an organization, invite their leaders to become Rotarians. And especially if you have larger organizations in your community, be it local banks or larger businesses, think about offering them corporate membership or other flexible membership types, so that if the principal of an architecture business, for example, is too busy to attend weekly meetings, they can send a junior associate as part of a corporate membership. Of course, publicity is extremely important as a key factor driving membership. So whenever you have any events, whenever you have any fundraisers or service projects, ensure that they get as much media attention as possible, either through your own social media activities, be it your website, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or the old-fashioned way, just writing an article and sending it to the local paper or the local public service television channel. Will give you exposure for those activities. Think about hosting events and socials in some fun environment that is geared towards attracting new members. For example, in Marblehead, what we do once a month is called Rotary After Hours. We meet on a Tuesday night at 5 p.m. following the board meeting, in most cases, at some pub or bar in town. And in this social fun context, we always talk to other people and invite them to join us for that. And then we can talk about the great projects that we've done in the past year with these potential member candidates. You can also try to entice your current members to bring potential new members by offering them raffle prizes, a percentage of membership dues, a pin, any kind of recognition. Think about the concept of Rotary means business as a way to leverage and invite members and prospective new members by giving them the opportunity to do business networking. So let's talk about membership retention a bit. There's a great tool called Rotary Club Health Check. And once you get these slides, you can click on the link and go to the RI website and run through it. This allows you to identify your club's problem areas and help you come up with ideas for making changes so that you can stay relevant for the members of the community. There's another long-term strategy document that's called Strengthening Your Membership, which will help you develop a club membership plan. And then there is a document called Introducing New Members to Rotary, an orientation guide that talks about great ideas on how to onboard members when they join your club. That can include a mentoring component, that can include a new member service project component, that will ensure that new members have a meaningful Rotary experience and therefore hopefully not abandon the club again after just a year or two. There is the opportunity for you to do a membership satisfaction survey. You can easily build surveys nowadays with free tools like SurveyMonkey and others, and simply ask your members, what do they think? How satisfied are they with the club experience? And what would they like to see changed? And of course, make sure that you engage with the new members and regularly recognize them for their achievements, keep them involved in service projects. And also when new members join, don't necessarily tap them on the shoulder and say, you're president next year. And if that happened to you, I apologize. But bring them on a path to the leadership track. Invite them to join a committee, invite them to, if they have specific expertise, invite them to chair a committee, for example, in public image. And what you will find is that when you engage members, they will get more out of it for their own personal benefit. So looking at your membership data, which you can get through Rotary Club Central, of course, in the report section, you can then formulate a plan for membership growth that's based on that existing data. And what I mean by that is if you see that every year your club is losing 2 or 3 members, you now know you need a plan to gain more than 3 members a year if you want net growth. You can also look at your club's makeup in terms of gender diversity, age diversity, and define goals for that. For example, increase the number of women from 30 to 40%, or increase the number of members under 40 to a certain percentage. And then you can ask yourself, how are you relevant in your community, and how can you communicate and connect and engage better, and what is your value proposition to your members? So in terms of membership data, what we want you to look at obviously is what does the trend look like? Has it been increasing over the last several years, decreasing? Is it plateauing? And the way to think about that is sort of as the balance between attraction and attrition rates. What we mean by attrition rate is the natural loss of members over time. And of course, you want to achieve an attraction rate that is higher than the attrition rate, ideally. If you have any questions about this kind of member data, and don't yet have a club membership committee that may have looked into that, we have a really wonderful district membership committee that is eager to help. So you can either set up a meeting with them, or you can invite them to do a joint meeting with your club membership committee, and we can talk about ideas and tools and ways to help you get the most out of your membership data and come up with a plan on how you can increase membership. When I mentioned value proposition before a couple of times, what I really mean is when you are talking to a member about what do they get out of it, right? Is the answer they get a weekly lunch or dinner? Or is the answer they're part of an organization that has these amazing goals of doing good in the world in our 7 areas of focus, including eradicating a disease like polio, including providing water to people in need in countries in Africa and South America, including ensuring basic education literacy, right? These are the things that are really meaningful, that are motivating people to stay involved in an organization. Whereas while the weekly lunch and dinner may be fun, if that's the only thing you're offering, you're not going to retain them long term, is the reality in today's world. I mentioned already before that as an organization, we've had this drive for perfect attendance for many, many years. And I myself have 14 years of perfect attendance in the Marblehead Rotary Club, because I'm just a numbers guy and I like to play this game, but that's not for everybody, right? What we really want to achieve is perfect engagement. We want members that are engaged in their online community. We want members that are engaged in the service projects. We want members who are engaged on social media. Maybe some of them don't want to come to the lunch meeting. Invite them to form a satellite club that can be a part of your club, but either meet at a different time or just meet online only. Think about ways to just think outside the box and not abandoning Rotary traditions, but rather enabling people who are looking for a different Rotary experience to still be able to participate. I think that's the way I would formulate it. And add excitement to the club's member experience by asking them to step up. As we all know, stepping up in an organization and taking leadership roles gives you a much more fulfilling experience in that organization. And so ask the new members to join on a committee, making sure that the service projects that your club does are active and interesting to the new members. Obtain feedback from your new members on what they think about the way the club agenda for the typical meeting looks like, what they think about service projects, what they think about the speaker selection you have. Maybe you've been bringing in speakers that are the local town representatives, from the police chief to the fire chief to the librarian, and your new members really don't care and want to hear a completely different set of speakers. Mix it up, bring in new speakers, give them a voice and let them lead new ideas. And then invite them to come to a conference, or invite them to come to a district event. Invite them to join one of the many Rotary fellowships that exist in the world, including our own district wine fellowship, which I highly recommend if you like wine. And I see a couple of members here on the screen already. And we talked about Rotary action groups, from malaria prevention to the mental health one that we mentioned at the beginning of this call. These action groups are wonderful ways of getting involved in Rotary, in the larger Rotary world. Now, what I want to show you next real quick is the new membership options brochure that our district membership committee has created in cooperation with the Public Image Committee. And this brochure can be customized for your club very easily. So if you go to the district website at this particular link, there is a lot more information available on it. Basically, all these fields that are marked and highlighted here in yellow are fully customizable. So you can put in your own local club projects. You can put in international projects that your club participates in. You can put in your Facebook and Instagram addresses, as well as an email address. And the District Public Image Committee will create a customized PDF version of this document for you, which you can then hand to your local printer and print a couple of copies, so that you have a brochure that you can use to attract new members. And in addition to that outward-facing member brochure that invites members to start joining your club, the second brochure that we can customize for you is a new member orientation brochure. As I mentioned before, when you bring new members into your club, the onboarding process is extremely critical. You want to make sure they have a mentor assigned to them. You want to make sure that they learn about Rotary and about the structure of our Rotary organization, as well as what next steps they can do to get more engaged in your club. As I mentioned in the other slide deck, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a really important strategy for Rotary International. This here is the current Rotary International Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Statement. And it is extremely powerful. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just point out a few things, such as that we value diversity and celebrate the contributions of people of all backgrounds. And that as an organization, we commit to advancing equity in all aspects of Rotary. And we strive to create an inclusive culture where each person knows they're valued and that they belong. When our district established its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee a few years ago, we began working with clubs on helping them understand DEI and increasing the inclusivity and the belonging in their own Rotary clubs. And last year, we started creating the District Governor DEI citation for Rotary clubs. If you have not heard about that yet, I can post into the chat the link to our website where you can learn more about that citation. And it is similar to the Rotary International citation for clubs, in that there is 25 goals and you have to achieve 13 or more to get the citation. But we have a beautiful pin for all members of your Rotary club if you achieve that citation. And several clubs have already achieved it this past year. Several are on their way to do it this year, and then maybe some of them can do it next year. I invite you to look into this. It's a really important tool for you to help you talk about diversity with your club members. And maybe as part of pursuing this DEI citation, you can develop an action plan for your Rotary Club on what you can maybe change to become more inclusive and more inviting. You can invite local diversity, equity, and inclusion experts to speak at your club's gathering. And if you don't know anybody in your town who does that, please contact the District DEI Committee and we can put you in touch with those experts. And we also regularly conduct DEI webinars from the district that are announced in the e-bulletin that you can participate in. And then you can also, of course, connect with any local organization in your area that supports diversity, equity, inclusion efforts to work with them. Really what this is all about is to encourage and support people from groups that are underrepresented in your organization to take on leadership positions in your club and your district and to become members of your Rotary Club. You can also encourage your own club members to take a course in the Learning Center to learn more about these topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you could create a community advisory board that helps you work in that area. So what do we mean by the different words diversity, equity, and inclusion? First up, what is diversity? And is there diversity in your Rotary Club? Do you include women? Do you include young professionals? Do you include different ethnic groups in your community? Do you have non-traditional professions as part of your club membership? Do you have members of the LGBTQ plus community? Do you have people that are handicapped? Do you have people that have any form of disability that are part of your club? And do you make them feel welcomed and feel included? This is what we talk about in diversity. And diversity can be visible or invisible diversity, right? In terms of visible diversity, you probably can tell by the color of people's skin or whether or not they are male or female. But there are so many invisible ways of diversity, right? For example, if you are looking for adding members to your club that know how to ride a unicycle, is that there's a hand? Yes, I do it too. So that is diversity, right? Or whether or not people speak foreign languages, that also adds diversity. So think about all of these different dimensions as all contributing to diversity, not just the classic color of your skin. When we talk about equity, we specifically don't say equality because it's really not a question of, in this beautiful example here that has been pretty much included in every DI presentation on the planet in the last few years, of these kids watching a baseball game, right? When you are trying to have everybody be equal, then they get each one box to stand on, and one of the kids can't see anything. But equity means distributing the resources in such a way that structural barriers to opportunity are eliminated. And that's really what we would like to strive for in our clubs. So diversity means everybody's invited to and welcome at the party. Equity means that everyone has the chance to help plan the party and make the decisions. And inclusion means that everybody's fully engaged, dancing, talking, eating, laughing together. That's one way to think about these concepts in terms of a party that you are trying to attend to. Here's another good example of what you can use as a visual tool to explain these terms, right? Diversity is all these puzzle pieces just lying around, whereas inclusion means they're interconnected and help one another and feed one another to create a larger whole. Now, one thing that I specifically want to mention when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion is that we need to be aware of something called implicit or unconscious bias, where everybody has these built-in biases that we react upon, and it's fully automatic. It's every day. It's hardwired. None of us are immune, even if we think we're the most tolerant people. But we need to recognize that they are unconscious, so we don't know that we are making these snap judgments, decisions that may lead to a word that is spoken that hurts somebody. And that's what we're trying to challenge when we talk about inclusivity. We want to make sure that people are aware of what these implicit biases can do if you make the wrong joke, right? And we all have members in our clubs that are prone to be a little bit offensive in their jokes, and every now and then we notice that people are hurt by those jokes, but yet we don't speak out. I think it is important for us to learn how to speak out and say, not publicly, right? I'm not meaning you should publicly chastise your club member, but after the meeting, approach them and go like, we know that you like these jokes, but we now have 3 new members who are really hurt, and I see them cringe every time you make these jokes. Would you please think about it and maybe go to some unconscious bias training and learn about it, and learn about how you can engage in a dialogue about these topics, and how you can come up with new ideas for rethinking your way of how you approach this. These discussions need to be done in a very careful manner. And if you don't feel comfortable yourself doing it, as I said, we have experts that can come into your club and do that. Unconscious bias training could be one way to do it, where really you learn about how to recognize their experiences and how they have shaped their perspectives, and where you learn how to consider that they may see the situation differently and how your actions may have impacted others. There's also a great website that I can highly recommend to you all. It's the Harvard Project Implicit website, where you can do a quick self-study test on various topics and can challenge your own unconscious biases towards religion, towards gun ownership, towards race. And it's a very interesting experience to find out what your own biases are and learn more about yourself in that way. Now, last topic I have for you, and then we'll wrap it up, is the generational gap and what we as club leaders can do to bringing the generations together. We have club members that are experienced and seasoned Rotarians, and when we add to our membership and bring in newer club members, there is going to be a generational gap between them, and you can either let that drive division, and then that won't be good for your club, or you can help these generations understand and embrace the similarities and differences, and encourage learning about the other group. That can be done in a mentorship relationship. And I just saw Dan posted a link to the Harvard Project Implicit. Thank you, Dan. That's now in your chat. So back to generation gap, you can create mentor relationships, right? There's very often something that we can learn from each other in these situations. And with increased communications, stereotypes between the generations, like the old people or the check writers, can be dismissed. You can really make both groups feel less alienated and more valued, right? As I said, mentoring is a absolutely wonderful way to do it. And think about mentoring not just as a one-way street, not just the more experienced people in your club mentoring the younger people on a professional level. For example, the older dentist mentoring the younger dentist, as a simple example. But think about the opposite direction, young people mentoring the more experienced people in the use of technology, in the use of social media. We can all learn a lot from one another. And if you foster this climate of mentorship, it can become a really wonderful experience. In this context, I also want to mention the concept of ageism, which is prejudice or discrimination against a particular age group, and very often, especially the elderly. And as Rotary ages out, really think about diversity, equity, and inclusion in this context. People who are experienced Rotarians, or your legacy members, very often have a strong, deep knowledge and commitment to Rotary. They may have, based on their journey in life where they are, deeper pockets and can contribute more to the foundation than newer members. They may have more respect for the concept of perfect attendance. They may want to receive respect and recognition in the organization, but they also have been long-time Rotary members. They've been in the Rotary Club for 20, 30 years. And so they definitely don't want to be alienated. And so you need to balance this out and really take care that you don't get into the culture war between the young and the old Rotarians, but help them derive pleasure from being together in one organization. And that is the end of my membership segment for you today. I promised I didn't want to keep you for more than 90 minutes. We are at the 78-minute mark. But I'm here for questions. If you want to head out and enjoy the weather, that's fine. But please feel free to stay on and ask any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kelsey. Oh, and in terms of where our journey goes next, the next event is going to be Northeast Pets in 3 weeks. So that's Friday, March 4th, starting at noon until 5 o'clock. And then on Saturday, March 5th, we start at 8 o'clock in the morning and go until 2:30. It's 1.5 days jam-packed with awesome speakers. We have Jennifer Jones, the incoming RI president. We have Evan Burrell, a social media and public image guru from Australia, talking to us. We have Dr. Tunji Funsho from Nigeria, one of the leading experts in polio eradication in the African continent. as our guest speaker, and Carolyn Jones, who will be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in between those keynote speakers, we'll have breakout sessions where we can have interactive discussions about what we just heard. So it's going to be fantastic. I really encourage you all to take those 1.5 days out of your schedule and attend those. It's all virtual, it's all on Zoom, but we are trying to make it really, really interesting and productive and a good use of your time. Any questions, comments? What time on March 4th? On Friday, it starts at noon and goes until 5 o'clock. I'm gonna post in the chat the schedule in a second, if I can find it. There's the schedule. Any other questions? No questions. That either means I did good or I bored you to death. I hope it was the first part.
Alexander.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here, for giving up time out of your afternoon. And I look forward to seeing you at Northeast Pets.
Thank you, Alexander. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Good to see everyone. Bye.
Yep. Have a good weekend.